I'd like to call the meeting to order and have a roll call, please.
Mr. Allen.
Here.
Mrs. Harold.
Here.
Mr. Irons.
Here.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Here.
Mr. Wright is absent with prior notice.
I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight and ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brett, would you trade these?
You get the rubber band.
Maybe it'll work.
Okay, 3.0, approval of agenda. Maybe it's just my voice.
I move to amend the agenda to table 7.05 El Paso County Sheriff's Office School Resource Officer contract for further discussion at the upcoming work session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Henry will have discussion at open forum. Board update. It's been moved and seconded. No discussion. A vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye. Now, I move to approve the agenda
As amended.
as amended, sorry.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. A vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. 4.0 consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. A vote, please.
One second.
All right.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. 5.0 board update. Let's start down there with Maureen.
I just want to say that I am looking forward to our continued discussion as we work to fill the COO position. We all had a lengthy interview process the other day through an open meeting process, and we are going to be meeting again to finalize that position and to discuss some things about the candidates again this Saturday, so we're hopeful to be able to fill that position soon. And I would also like to thank Patriot Learning Center's Culinary Arts Program. They provided a wonderful spread for us tonight. The food was awesome. Thank you. We can tell you're learning a lot. I tried every single thing just to make sure that I could really compliment all of them and say it really truly was good.
Marie, I too will say they were excellent, very good, but I tried a few more than Marie did. Anyway, I do want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and I especially want to thank our board members for being very accommodating to my future crazy schedule, because I will be gone for the rest of the month, and we are having this meeting a week early, and so I thank them for adjusting their schedules, and thank you for attending tonight.
Good evening. Again, welcome to everyone. Real quick, as you know, I don't know if you do know, the school resource officer at Falcon High School has been suspended for a while. The school resource officer is a valuable asset to our school. I was a school resource officer for 6 years in the county, so I know how valuable they are. We appreciate their work and what they do throughout the district. But as a member of the board, it was my responsibility to be overlook the money that's spent within the district. And in doing so, I made the decision to speak with the county commissioner that's responsible for our district to see about acquiring additional funds where the district would not have to be cost so much money. And I guess in doing that, prior to any type of discussions, any type of collaboration between the two organizations, the SRO position at Falcon has been suspended by the Sheriff Department. So we'll have to work through it. Hopefully we'll find some way to keep it finished. But again, it's all about the dollars. You know, we'll make it work, but it was a concern that it was costing the district so much educational dollars. So I wanted to make sure, again, that's my responsibility. I lean on my responsibility that no matter how tough it gets sometimes, tough decisions have to be made. So I'm hoping that we can work through this, that the SRO can come back. But again, it needs to be an open conversation between both parties. It can't be a one-way conversation. Thank you.
And just to piggyback on that from Mr. Allen, student safety is our top priority in this district. So we will not be without security out in the Falcon area until this is resolved. So we will be, there will be somebody there tomorrow. We won't leave our students unsafe. So that's not so please don't be concerned on that. And the current SRO out there has done an exemplary job, and it's not that person. It's between the two organizations. So just want to make sure that we understand that too on that person's perspective. Last week, the board and our top administrators sat through 3 days. We didn't sit through. We were actively engaged in leadership training, learning how to communicate and work together to be a better team for our district. And it was wonderful to get everybody's perspective, get everybody in the room, and just have that collaboration. So it's a lot of time sitting on a board. So I really encourage anybody that's thinking that they want to get involved in the next year, that there's elections coming up in November of next year. So, you know, start thinking about it. It is so rewarding to be on a school board and help the community and the students. So I just want to put that out there to remind everybody that that's coming up. So, you know, truly take that to heart. It is a wonderful experience. It is time consuming, but it is so rewarding. And this district is an amazing place to be. So I appreciate all of the staff that we have here every single day out there doing what they do for these students in this community. So I can't thank you all enough.
A couple things that I have to announce or make sure that everyone is aware of in terms of great things happening in the district. Would be first, Sand Creek High School's marching band took first place in the Friendship Cup competition at Harrison High School, which is really cool. Also, in the Power Zone, we're starting to see the 5th graders using their iPads in the one-to-one initiatives and the pilots that we're working on. And Monty Lammers from the Falcon Zone was selected to participate in the Life Touch Memory Mission, where he will spend a week in the Dominican Republic and help build a school down there. So some really good things happening there. And I also wanted Kim McClellan to come up and tell us about the next fun thing happening down at Falcon Virtual Academy.
So just real quick, we are going to be hosting the Falcon Virtual Academy, you know, had the board meeting at their location last month, but we will be hosting the grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony October 12th from 9 to 1. Please come and participate. We actually have an honored guest, Susan Patrick, who's the CEO and president of the International Association of K-12 Online Learning. As I told my husband, she's like the John Elway of blended learning and online learning, and he kind of looked at me like, really, Kim? But in my world, she's like that. Because she's somebody to really look up to. She'll be speaking, and we get her pro bono because she's going to be in town for the CC homecoming, and she's a CC grad. So I piggybacked on that and remembered, oh my goodness, I think I remember her being here, and we got her for 1 hour, and it just worked out perfectly. So we're very blessed as a district to have her come in and speak about what's happening in all over the world in online learning and blended learning. So that'll be 9 to 11 on October 12th at the FDA building.
That's all I have.
That's it? Okay. Thank you, everyone. I know it's been a busy last few weeks for us. 6.0, open forum. I have my little spiel to read. The board is desirous to hear the comments of the community. We invite you to address the board concerning district issues. When appropriate, we will answer your concern after you have finished your 3-minute speech and take your seat. No charges or complaints against individuals shall be made. Defamatory or abusive remarks or profanity shall be considered out of order and shall not be tolerated. And thank you for participating in our open forum. Our first speaker tonight is Steve Benfield.
Yes. I don't think there's a need to take the podium, is there?
Just so that it gets on the mic for all the recordings. Sorry.
Yes, I will take the podium.
Thank you.
First, thank you for the opportunity to speak before the board. I want to say, to start with, that I do not in any way support or agree with the pay-per-ride school bus system. Having said that, I haven't been and I'm not protesting the fact that I have to pay for my son to ride the bus. I understand there's a fee for things and sometimes there's extra dollars that are needed. I'm not even protesting for the fact that I had to pay last year and didn't say a word about it. The only complaint that I have is the unequal pricing. I mentioned this a couple of months ago. I don't think it's fair that because my son only rides a couple of times a week that I pay 3 times what the daily rider has to pay. It doesn't cost the district 3 times the amount in order to transport my son. And the argument that, well, we can't base the number of buses on how many children if your son only rides occasionally. It's not like the district has a standby bus sitting there to take the extra people. They all ride the same bus. My son is no larger, no smaller than any of the other kids on the bus. It just really feels unfair to me when I pay 3 times what the other people pay. I just want some equal service for an equal price. That's all I'm asking for from the board.
Will we address that at the end?
Yeah, we can.
Or are you looking at bringing us a presentation back on that anytime soon?
Yeah, I'd like to bring a presentation back on that, at the next work session.
At October work
Yes.
session? Loretta, can you make a note that on October work session to have that, make sure we keep that on the agenda? Thank you. David Nunes. Hi.
Again, thank you. I'd say I was a little inspired by my daughter. Also, I was actually reviewing, I would say, the job requirements for the particular position you guys were looking to fill. And I kind of was inspired on maybe having a district level of emphasis on having local business, especially I would say high-tech businesses, having a relationship with the district. I think that if schools are at, I would say, at different levels, elementary, junior high, middle school to high school, kind of introduce kind of these high-tech schools and show fundamentals of, hey, you learn your math, you learn your science, you learn problem-solving skills. You guys can work with these particular items, wow-type features that get kids interested in, Hewlett-Packard and the chip manufacturing business. Again, I'm not really prepared to giving particulars on the solution to that. I was just trying to raise that as as a potential initiative to maybe take a look and show kids at elementary, just show them, hey, here's what you could learn. This is the business person there can say, hey, we used math. We had to add these together to get to here. And then as you progress through the years, you get reintroduced to that same business, and you go at a high school level. Here's a problem that we faced. What would you guys do to solve this problem? And then go back to that particular and say, this is how we solved it as a business. You were close, or encourage kind of that relationship, so kids get re-engaged, saying that what I'm learning is actually in the real world.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking time to be involved in looking at that. That's wonderful. Dr. Jarman.
Good evening.
Evening.
I'll try to be as brief as possible. There's so much that I want to say, but I'm just going to start off by saying that I want to kind of give you a little brief update.
Is that me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. I was a part of the subcommittee to help write our new Colorado State standards for music. As a part of that subcommittee, we've kept the whole process going, where every so many months, 3 or 4 months, we get together and discuss any updates amongst the arts that are going on in the state, how the districts are complying, how teachers feel about the new standards and such. And over this past year, having gone to these committees for the last year and a half, I have found that there is such a lack in our district, to the point to where it's bothering me. That's why I had to come tonight. My principal, Ms. Tanucci, knows that I'm here, and she knows that I am making this plea for intervention, because it's not a zone problem. It is a district problem where we do not have any time to collaborate. There's so much time that's being given to core teachers and the STEM project that we leave out the arts, which could turn the STEM into STEAM. There are several states that have innovatively gone in that direction, because they see the importance of keeping the arts, supporting the arts, and all facets. And I see that lack. I brought samples from some of the other districts where they at least have fine arts coordinators who oversee and various aspects within their districts, how their teachers have gotten together to collaborate and come up with ideas for their district, steering their district, so that their students can excel in those areas. We do not have that representation in this district. We have tried for years to push for someone, or whether it be volunteer or a paid position, it really doesn't matter. We just need the leadership, and we need to be able to collaborate. We need the time to do it. We need staff development, because like I said, it's not just a zone issue. It is a district issue, and when we're not getting that professional leadership and development that we need, we suffer, and when we suffer, our students suffer. And our teachers work hard, and we work long hours, and I would just like for you to please consider doing this. I've also been accepted to be a part of CD's curriculum project, which will start, November the 2nd. And we're going to be meeting, there's going to be 4 meetings that are really going to push sample curriculum within the arts in this state. And like I said, I stand alone. I mean, I'm not the only one within this state that does that. But the big districts, and especially ours, since we're such a large and growing district, I believe that it's time for us to step up to the plate and include enrichments in the mix, and to not be left out in the cold anymore. And it's not a complaint, it's a concern. It's a very heartfelt concern. Okay, as I've been in this district 11 years now, I've seen a lot and I've done a lot, and there has to be some type of support that comes from the board in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baumann. Our chief education officer is away at a conference visiting, but I will make sure that I pass this on to him and see if there's a way to get some funding or whatever we might need to help the arts. That is the last of our speakers tonight. So now we are on to 7.0, our action items. First one is 7.01, accreditation of schools.
I move to accredit all District 49 schools as recommended by the administration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? We had a presentation at our last work session about our accreditation, so this is just the formal vote on that. So a vote, please, Loretta.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm so used to that fifth vote that I keep waiting for that last one. I apologize. 7.02, official survey date for impact date.
I move to approve Thursday, November 1st, 2012 as the official impact aid survey date for the 2012-2013 year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, a vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. 7.03, American Education Week resolution.
I move to approve the following resolution to recognize the week of November 11th through 17th, 2012 as American Education Week throughout our district schools. Whereas public schools are the backbone of our democracy, providing young people with the tools they need to maintain our nation's precious values of freedom, civility, and equality, and whereas by equipping young Americans with both practical skills and broader intellectual abilities, schools give them hope for and access to a productive future. And whereas education employees, be they teachers, custodians, administrators, bus drivers, librarians, secretaries, or nutrition services, work tirelessly to serve our children and our communities with care and professionalism. And whereas schools bring together adults and children, educators and volunteers, business leaders and elected officials in a common enterprise. Now therefore, we, the Falcon 49 School District Board of Education, do hereby support the annual observance of American Education Week, November 11th through 17th, 2012, in the Falcon 49 School District, and urge all community members to recognize those who provide our young people with an excellent education.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? This is one of my favorite weeks, so I just appreciate all the teachers and all of our staff. I say that all the time, and I truly do mean that. It's not just words for me, so. A vote, please. Henry, don't laugh.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. 7.04, District Accountability Advisory Committee appointments.
I move to approve the appointment of the members of the District Accountability Advisory Committee listed as recommended by the administration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Oh, motion carries. I was thinking ahead of that I forgot to say that I appreciate all the people on that committee, because that is parents and teachers that volunteer to do that committee. So that's another wonderful aspect of our district. And we moved 7.05 off, and 7.06 CCS contract extension.
I move to approve a contract extension of IT operational support with Colorado Computer Support effective for the period January 1st, 2013 to June 30th, 2013 for a cost of $40,438 per month, consistent with terms of the original contract that was to expire as of December 31st, 2012.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
This allows us to align the external IT support contract with the same timeline that will be our request for proposals for all of our other IT stuff. So we have all of our provider contracts and everything are up June 30th, so this will put everything into the same timeline so we can bundle some things when we do those RFPs, rather than doing an RFP now and then doing another one in June and not making sure we really had everything covered. And I'd also like to say that I have seen really incredible work from Colorado Computer Support for our district as well, so we really have appreciated what they've done with us so far, especially the work they've done in our transition into a new platform, which was monumental, especially considering all of the infrastructure issues they had to deal with as we did that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I would like to piggyback that and say thank you for also being willing to extend that and help us out in that process. So, a vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. On to 7.07, graduation dates.
I move to approve the contract with the World Arena for graduation of Falcon High School and Vista Ridge High School, May 25th, 2013, and to hold the facility for Sand Creek High School if needed. The cost will not exceed $20,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, a vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. 7.08, 2013 Board of Education meetings and work session dates.
I move to approve the regular Board of Education meeting dates and work session dates for 2013 as listed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? A vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harold.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries. That is all of our action items, and now we're on to our information items. First up is Patriot Learning Center update. Mr. Tom Wilkie. Thank you.
Okay, this shouldn't take any more than about 20 minutes. I'm kidding.
That's okay.
Number one, I'd like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to make a little update here. This evening, I have a couple teachers that are going to show you a couple things. I think that when you look at the mission statement of District 49, that pretty much describes what we're doing at Patriot Learning Center. And although academics is very important for us, we feel like sending our students out into the public and being able to function in society is a huge part of what we do. So that's what we're all about. And without all of the support throughout the district, we wouldn't be able to do that. So I appreciate all of the support that we're getting. And to give you a quick update, Ms. McClellan just provided us with 20 iPads, and we're excited about using them in the future. So I appreciate that, Kim. And she's always given us 100% of the support through the iConnect zone, and we very much appreciate that. And I appreciate the board being here. Thanks for tasting the food. The kids had an excellent time making it. And I was in the classroom while they were preparing the food. And these kids just, I mean, you wouldn't believe a room full of kids just keeping busy for 3 hours. And they are very excited about being able to provide that food. And you'll see more in the future. So, and first of all, I've got Mr. Morkel. He's a middle school language arts teacher. He's also a teacher that spends every night of the week teaching online courses. So very busy. And then Mr. Austin, science teacher from our middle school, has some things they'd like to show you. And thank you again. And thanks for all of your support.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Charles Markle. Like Mr. Wilkie said, I'm the language arts teacher at Patriot Learning Center, and I want to talk a little bit about a program that we have that's an intervention program called Reading Plus. Last year, the Mortgage Foundation put forth a grant that would pay for half of the cost of seats for students to use this program called Reading Plus. And at Patriot, we have a significant at-risk population when it comes to being below grade level in reading and writing as well. So any kind of support that we could have and offer to all students was really important, and it was great for us to have the chance to work toward this grant and to earn it. Now the program is a web-based program, and what it does is it allows students to understand the good habits of a reader. So they get a chance to practice good reading habits, and many of the students don't even know what that is. So it's broken into 3 parts. They spend a couple minutes warming up where they actually do tracking exercises from left to right. And then after they kind of get those physical skills down, it gets more into the cognitive area where students, they have guided reading based on a pretest that they take that determines what their reading level is in relation to the program. So it's a dynamic experience for the student. So they're in a guided reading session, and it changes as they show proficiency. They get to choose what they want to read. If they're on a lower reading level, it is going to it's going to be more fiction, but as they grow, it becomes more nonfiction, and it's scaffolded. So it's always just like a little bit more of a challenge that they have to step up to. The last part of a session is built on inference skills and vocabulary, and the students really love it. I was surprised for them to be able to sit down for a 45-minute session in front of a computer and really get into it. And I want to share some hard data that we got back from TCAP on our reading and writing scores that, I think is somewhat related to putting this intervention there. So in 6th grade, our reading increased 6 percentage points over the previous year. In 7th grade, we had 28% proficient advanced, and that increased to 67% to proficient advanced, again in 7th grade. 7th grade writing went from 24% proficient advanced to 60% proficient advanced. In the high school, 9th grade reading went from increased 22 percentage points, and 10th grade writing increased 2 percentage points. Now, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe one intervention like that is what does it. I think it's the support that we do in the classroom. But what I will say is that even beyond these measurable goals, there's a change in the reading climate at PLC middle. Students, when we talk about Reading Plus, they encourage other students to meet these lofty goals. They compete with one another. And they're really starting to take ownership of their own literacy and see how important it is. I can now sit down with students, and where they may have been challenged before with the text, they won't look at that challenge the same. They won't look at it as something that's so far off the horizon that they can't do it, because I can bring forth this data from Reading Plus and say, hey, you've read this kind of stuff already. Here's what you've done with it. Let's sit down. Let's analyze this. Let's do it together. You can do it. And it's really contributed to the culture of success that we have in reading there. So I'm very thankful for that.
Very nice.
Mr. Austin.
I brought my gimmick, Henry.
Good to see you again. I know I haven't been over to visit you like I should have after I made a promise.
I hope you don't mind.
No, I don't. We know each other if you don't know that.
Here's your controller.
Oh, Henry.
All right.
Turn you loose.
Did we talk about this before?
Oh, yeah, black goes on black.
Okay.
I should let you do this, huh?
Nope.
Red goes on red. This is the Sea Perch program at Patriot Learning Center. We got 10 of these little remotely operated vehicles from the U.S. Navy.
Did we get them? We got them moving, guy? Outstanding.
So all the students at Patriot are making these things, and then they'll, I think it's safe to put it in here. Watch it.
Good thing it's over where you guys
Let's plug
are.
you in right
Plug in Henry, will you?
here. All right, now you got the buttons, and it's not in water.
I know. But hey, let me ask you a question. Can I take it home after we leave the day? I
all the
can play with it in the bathtub? Yeah.
Henry, more information than we want.
Okay.
It's recording, isn't it?
The U.S. Navy gave us a grant to have 10 of those. Those are called Sea Perch. If you're interested, go on seaperch.org.
Okay.
But the beauty of Patriot Learning Center, just so you guys know, because I want to boast about them,
You can swim.
I have not heard these 3 things since I've been there. And I've been around for a while. Oh, she already left. I was going to say, I don't mind doing steam and turning STEM into steam, but I guess steam left. All right, so number 1 that I don't hear anymore, I don't hear, will this be on the test? I haven't heard that the whole time since I've been there. I just started, right? I'm waiting to hear that. Second thing I don't hear, why do I have to know this? I haven't had one student raise their hand, because they're pretty bold nowadays. Why do I have to know this? Haven't heard that yet. So kudos for that. Third thing I haven't heard, what does this have to do with my life? Right? That's a common thing. Students always want to throw the gauntlet down and say, what's this got to do with my life? They're doing Sea Perch. I haven't heard one kid say, well, I got to know how to use a drill to put a hole in PVC pipe, right? They're not asking. Why? Because they're engaged. They're in the curriculum. They're coming to class. I hope they're excited, right? They want to come to school and they want to compete with this thing. And
I am.
Cool.
I'm excited.
I know you want that new
Play
toe.
with it, yeah.
So hopefully in February we'll have a swimming pool over by Miss Levere's house.
Hoorah.
I hope. And these kids will do missions with these little rovers in the pool.
Yeah, all
And so
right.
it's a competition, but it's a team, it's a design. I think the guy that was talking about getting industry involved, I think that's key. It's huge. I agree. Hewlett Packard, Lockheed Martin, all those big dogs. Get them into our schools. I want to see them. It's not about me, right? It's about those youngsters in that classroom.
Amen.
They don't have a choice what decade they were born, but I guarantee you they're in my classroom, and they deserve this. So this isn't a gimmick. This is something that's happening. It's something that, we got the opportunity to bring to these youngsters, and they're all doing a Sea Perch. It seems simple, PVC pipe and some motors, but even that little controller you have there, Henry, they had to make that. There's circuits in there. They have to solder all that together.
It's
They have
awesome.
to learn everything. Propulsion, buoyancy,
Is this
water,
prototype?
circuits.
Is this prototype here? I can take it home?
No, that thing's functional. That thing works. I had it in my tub. My boy's been playing with that thing.
I know this is a board meeting, but I go out and get some water and come back.
We'll take it to the indoor pool, yeah. Okay.
That's great.
So that's Sea Perch.
Guys, if I may, what was that, Family Day I came over to visit?
Yeah, like an open house thing.
It was outstanding. The students were engaged, the parents were engaged, the building, I really appreciate you guys having me there. And it wasn't hooked up when I first got there.
I didn't have it built.
No, it wasn't, it was just a pipe there. It's amazing what those children are doing. So I'm a challenge Steph there to go over and get some pictures of all the great things you're doing and putting them on the web page so everybody can see those. And I would like to be invited in February when it's snowing outside, so I can hang out in the snow and run this thing.
Oh, so yeah, we'll be indoors.
Okay, all right.
Right, they're indoor pools, right?
There's an indoor
The
pool.
Woodman
yeah.
Hills one has
Yeah,
one.
we'll-
that's
Rudy
we'll
and
get you
Nessa,
indoor.
yeah.
It's outstanding. Thank you.
Okay, in closing on all this, it's because we have an excellent staff at Patriot
Yes.
Learning Center. We have a bunch of great students there. Some of them have some downfalls, but I'll tell you what, we pick them back up and get them where they need to go. And without the staff that we have, we definitely wouldn't be where we're at. And so this is what Patriot Learning Center is about. This is only 2 drops in the bucket, though, because you're going to hear a lot more about us.
Great job, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're gonna play with that all day long, aren't you?
It'll go for 8 hours.
Okay, hey, don't tell me that.
Don't. So the next 2 items are student travel trips and expulsions and suspension are just information for us. Those aren't really discussed at board meetings. So now we're on to discussion items, 9.01, our charter school transfer application from Goal Academy. And that will be Kim McClellan.
What is
that
this
you?
thing? What is this?
That's the phone you're going to use during executive session.
Yeah, come get it, because I'll play with it all day. Take it out.
Yeah.
Hold up, one more time.
I just
Okay,
want to
got
say
it.
how amazing
Thank you.
TLC is,
Got it.
and thank you guys for coming tonight. I really encourage lots of people to go over there because it's so much fun to see some of the neat hands-on things that they're doing at PLC. So
Great job.
hats off to the leadership and all the teachers as well.
Continue the good work.
You're probably going to have to step over in front of it and point that at it.
All right, let's start out with something really positive, okay? TLC is very positive. Trying to get to the thing here. All right. All right, first of all, for those of you who are in the audience, my name is Kim McClelland. I am the iConnect Innovation Leader. I have with me Denise Munn from Charter School Solutions, who has helped through the charter transfer application process, as well as she's been working really hard with the charter school renewals. And then we also have in the back, we have Ken Crowell from, and I pronounced that right, Ken Crowell. See, I always worry that I'm pronouncing his last name wrong. But Ken's here. He is the director, the CEO of head of school of the Goal Academy. And then we have another, his assistant executive director, Chris Enright, who is here as well. They're right here back in the back. You guys go ahead and wave. Hello. So really the purpose for me, just to give you all an update, is I mentioned at the last meeting that we did not receive any new charter applications for new charter schools. However, the district has received a transfer application from the Goal Academy. Through this process, it's sort of actually been a little bit longer than a year that we've been talking with them and just collaborating with them, learning about their school. They were trying to learn about our district because they've been seeking another authorizer. Their current authorizer is the Charter School Institute, which is their main purpose is to authorize charter schools. They don't have regular brick and mortar schools. So, but Goal Academy has been seeking a different authorizer, and with all of the innovative things that we've been doing in the district, as well as the collaboration and just the relationship we have with our charters, we were very appealing to them. So we've just been really wanting to learn a lot more about them, as well as them learning about us, and that's what the past year has been. However, starting September 4th, we did have, they actually submitted a formal intent to transfer application to us. So they sent us a letter saying that they wanted to formally tell us that they wanted to apply here. September 13th, they did complete by that time, so you can tell there was a quick turnaround, and I'll explain the quick turnaround here in just a moment. But they did do a full complete application that was submitted actually at the board meeting on the 13th. What we did from there, we've been going through the same principles and practices that I've talked about for a long time that we all adopted as a district. So they had to go through the same formal process that a new applicant would need to go through. Through that process with the transfer application, district staff as well as Charter School Solutions did review the transfer application and gave lots of feedback. We collaborated and pulled all of the ratings on the rubric that we had in the transfer application. We pulled all the comments and everything together and put it into the executive summary that you all have. From that also, on September 24th, a team of district staff, as well as a team of the goal staff, came and they went through a 2.5-hour interview of lots and lots of questions from our staff. And I have to commend our staff for the very first time ever having to go through this process with the charter school, and they all did a wonderful job. So Brett, you and Dawn have a lot to be proud of with your team there as well. So we interviewed and we had verbal questions as well as, I believe, 40? There was something like 40 written questions that they had to answer back to us in 4 days. So thank you, Chris and Ken, for being so diligent on getting all that information to us as soon as possible. So from that, then we did finalize our executive summary that I did submit to you all. But let me just give you a quick snapshot of the school. I'm not going to read through all the bullets, but just as a highlight, they do have currently 2,700 students. I'm not sure where their October count came in, but 2,700 students were reported in their application. They are chartered through the Charter School Institute. They do have an academic improvement rating through an AEC framework, which again is how PLC, the school that was just up here, they are an alternative ed campus as well as Goal Academy. However, their status is an improvement rating. But one of the big things about Goal, they do have a 71.2 free and reduced lunch. So their FRL is much higher than even our total district. Much, much higher. And they have about 3.22% are Title X, meaning that they are homeless. So 3% of their students are actually considered homeless as well. Another highlight would be that 12% of their population are ELL learners. 57.5% reported dropping out before joining Goal. So the wonderful thing is that Goal Academy has literally picked some of these kids off the streets of Colorado, all over Colorado, and have the compassion to want to educate them. When you hear the stories from Ken and Chris and their teachers and the impact that they're making on dropouts throughout the state, it is a really big job, but they have the compassion and love to do it. Approximately 20% of all Goal students are parents of at least one child. I've even heard stories of teens who have 3 children, and they are worrying about getting diapers for their kids and feeding themselves. And so they have wraparound services that work with the students in DHS and transportation and making sure that they have all their needs met so that they can learn. They do enroll students statewide throughout 20 different counties. They have 16 memorandum of understandings with Colorado colleges, university, and technical schools. So they really work hard on looking at how they can support post-secondary education options for their students. They have 85%. What's really neat, I liked about this, is that their concurrent enrollment students do maintain about an 85% course pass rate and have earned over 500 college credits. So I'm excited to even collaborate with them on how they've been doing this concurrent enrollment process and how they're getting kids so many college credits, because that's really, really amazing, especially with the learning needs that they all have. So really probably the big question is, okay, well, what can Goal Academy offer us as a school district? Some of the main highlights would be that it is an option to strengthen our portfolio in the district that will provide additional innovative opportunities. So we do have an online school. We have an AEC school. However, some of the opportunities and some of the things that Goal provides is something that we don't currently provide. So it is providing another option for our students, as well as families from all over the state. They do have, and this would increase our at-risk funding model, and in turn support the needs of our at-risk students even in our own community. This also would increase the district overall number of students to at least 2,700 students. So Brett will also, he has some things that he can, even if you have questions about the funding part of it, he's has some information on that as well. But some next steps that I would say that we need to probably be looking at is, obviously I've made the, and our district staff has made the recommendation for approval of their transfer application. And that would be either in a special meeting that you all may be holding in October or no later than November 8th. The reason for this quickness is that they're also up for renewal through Charter School Institute. And we need to be able to be sensitive to the timeline that they have for a renewal application. Because if we do not accept them, the alternative of us not accepting them is them either going through the renewal process with CSI or also giving them the opportunity to apply in other districts that may want to entertain that idea as well. But for the most part, we had a quick timeline because of their renewals so that we can make sure that all those 2,700 kids that really need someone and a home have a home. And I wanted to be sensitive to that. Any questions? Denise, did I leave anything else? No? Okay.
Kim, if I remember right from conversations before, a lot of their students come in rated past the 9th or 10th grade technically, so like that improvement rating, that's basically based on CSAP scores.
Yes.
And it's not a very large percentage of their kids that take the CSAP, so it's
No.
not really very representative of what's happening to their students
No.
once they're in their program, correct?
Correct.
And they're also not counting, you know, one of the other statistics is your graduation rate, but they count when that child first enrolled in a 9th grade anywhere, when they look at them from the state, not when they started with gold, correct?
Correct.
So for both of those instances, the way the state is determining their viability versus what they're truly doing for students really isn't reflective of what they're doing.
No.
If I remember our conversations that we met a couple of months ago, I think.
Yep.
So I think that is an important piece when people are looking at that, because a lot of the kids they're working with are the ones who are trying to finish high school, yet those are the ones whose there isn't a state measure to look at what happens once they're in their school. So I'm assuming that's part of what we're going to be working with them on.
Yes, we'll be working with, Amber and I have been in in-depth conversations around what we would do to, and what kinds of support that we would be providing them as a district. That's another benefit for them being in an actual district, is that we do have a lot more resources and things to help support them. So some of that might be also collaborating with them on the measures that we're going to be using in order to show growth, because their kids, typically AEC students or at-risk students don't always show growth in the same way that other students do. And so we need to work collaboratively with them on what kinds of things could we do that can show that growth, so that can reflect in their AEC framework. Also, many of these students come in, 4 years behind, and there's no way they're going to catch up. And so that's another reason why we have a lot of work to do, but we're willing to do that in our district, and they're very excited about collaborating with us on that.
And I'm guessing that our own AEC can have some of the same issues with the way that it gets scored. And so this may be something where PLC and GOAL are going to be able to work together to come up with something that is a better measure than what the state currently uses to measure this population of kids. So that we
Absolutely,
can
and
have
our
a better way of
district,
looking at it.
our district will be able to go to the state and say, we really believe that this is a good way to do this, and we believe that this will work, and we're going to give them the right support that they need.
Are they going to be keeping their same curriculum and online?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everything will stay the same. They use Novanet currently and some other offsite program and other offshoot programs in order to fill in the gaps of what Novanet isn't supplying. So they'll be using all of the things that they currently do. That's why it's considered a transfer application, because it's been in existing school already.
Perfect.
I think they use Reading Plus, don't they?
They use Reading
So
Plus
the same
as
thing
well.
we just
Yes,
had the presentation from
Yes,
PLC.
you just heard that, and they actually showed a lot of growth in regards to Reading Plus, and they've seen some growth scores in Scantron. Gosh, they could rattle off all sorts of things, but I know that they've been seeing some amazing growth in their school.
It's a great school to help those students, and I'm just glad that we're going to be able to partner with them and help them. Hopefully.
If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to, I open the fact to talk to them prior to your vote if there's anything else that you have questions about. have a very thick book in my office too with a lot of appendix stuff that you guys can come look at. But I'm very excited about working with Ken and Chris both and their school.
Then we will move that. I don't think we're going to have a special meeting in October unless we absolutely have to, and if we do, we will put that on that, but it will definitely be on the November
Well, when is our November
agenda.
board meeting?
November 8th, that's
Okay,
what she
so we
said.
can do it the 8th and we're okay?
Okay.
That's my question.
Yeah. Got it? Okay.
Oh wait, I need to leave this for me.
Thank you guys so much for all that work. Now we're up to the 8 or 10 classroom used pod for Evans Elementary School.
Sorry.
So, you want, just to set the table on this one a little bit while they're setting up, this is bringing back some more details on a proposal that was first discussed last month, where the Evans mods are not in great condition and what was a best way to replace that space. And so we were charged with going and pursuing a couple of options there and bringing those back, those options back to the board. And so that's what Melissa and Selena have put together here to show you here tonight.
Perfect.
All right, so after the last meeting, we were asked to go out for an RFP. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, if you talk just a smidge louder.
Okay. So we did go out for an RFP, and we went ahead with the bidding process. We posted that up on the district website. We advertised the RFP into the Gazette Telegraph, and we also performed a nationwide search soliciting any businesses that may be doing their business within Colorado. And so with that, we were able to come up with 2 bidders. The first one was Advanced Modular. They both have an 8 classroom and a 10 classroom pre-owned modular or pod. And then Satellite Shelters responded as well, but they only had new available. So the selection wasn't great. However, with the pre-owned, the 8 classroom piece is 2 separate 4 classroom pods that are located in Monument. And the restroom component is from 2002, and 1 set of classrooms is from 2006, and the other is from 2008. And so if we want to take a peek at those, we are welcome at any time to tour them. The 10 classroom would be the same set of units, but then we would be adding a two classroom section of new. And the reason for that is because working with Evans, they really do need 10 classrooms to function in the way that they want to, so we were sensitive to their needs, and so we investigated that as well. So we would like to recommend that we purchase the 10 classroom pod for the needs that Dustin has. That would eliminate 4 of the 2 classroom modulars and a single wide. And it would also, by doing that method, reduce the student and teacher disruption, and I can show you why on the map in just a minute. The second recommendation would be the 8 classroom pod, and that eliminates 3 of the 2 classroom modulars, but the rest would need to remain so that his program functions the way he needs it to. This one would actually be a little bit more disruptive, and we can look at the reason. So if you look at this map, there's 2 modulars and a single wide here, and then we've got 2 modulars here. I believe it's this modular still has a state seal. If you guys remember our last conversation, the state seal are the only ones that are able to be moved. And so if we did an 8 classroom, we would end up having to remove one of these at the top and place that one that can be moved over there. Then we'd have to demo the second one over where the red box is, and then that red box is how the pod would sit. And then we'd have to go back in and demo the other, so that he'd have the space he needs. Where if we went with a 10 classroom, we would just be able to demo the 2 where the red box are, bring the pod in while the kids are still going to school in the other 2 buildings, and then we can come populate the pod and then remove the other 2. So in essence, that's much less disruptive to their program. Some pictures. Here's the first of the 4 classroom pods. This one, I believe, is a retirement center. And then this one sits at one of the schools in District 38. I believe it's at their central office. The inside of the school, you can kind of get some pictures. They look like they're in pretty good condition. The hallways. And then the restroom would have 2 urinals, 2 toilets, and 3 sinks for the boys, 3 sinks and 4 toilets for the girls. Just missing these pictures, still looking at the condition. And of course, we only brought pictures of the used because that's really what the RFP was for. And then here's a timeline. I know it's very difficult to see, but if we started right away, we would be able to, with a 10 classroom, be ready to populate that the middle of February. So really, it's about a 4-month process. But the total project time is 5 months, and what that means is we have to go back and demo some of the modulars that the kids will still be residing in until the pod got into its place. And so obviously we can't predict the weather, so that doesn't take into consideration the weather or any circumstances that we may find in the process. If you guys have any questions on the timeline, let me know, because I know it's hard to read. I can send you the original. Costs, you can look at all of the costs that we would have that go into it. And then, unfortunately, the bottom you can't see very well, but in reality, we're about $65,000 difference between the 8 classroom and the 10 classroom pod. One of the other things that we wanted to address and take a peek at just to make sure we were doing our due diligence is that Evans is a school that had a planned addition. The south side of their building has a temporary wall, and it was set up, the water line and everything is already there. The electrical services are set up for an addition, and so we wanted to get an idea of what it would cost to actually do 10 classrooms as an addition, as a permanent space instead of a temporary space. And our cost came in about $2.5 million, just to kind of give you an idea. And then the other thing that we did want to discuss is that where the 2 modulars up at the top of the screen when we looked at the map were located, if we were able to take those out, Dustin has asked if that could turn into like a dirt parking lot, gravel parking lot, so that his staff could park back there, and it would also help with the transportation issues with all of the driving parents in the front of the lot for them.
Can you put that map 1 back up on the screen if you could?
Does anybody come up
To
with a
show
cost,
that.
what this parking lot would cost that he wants?
You know, we just discussed that today, and I did not have time to.
Okay, if you could get that for me,
I
please.
can do that, definitely. There we go. So it'll be the space up under here. And then we have a fire loop that goes around. And typically the fire department, as long as we don't park and have standing cars in that space, they would let us use it as access to a parking lot, but we would want to verify with the fire department to make sure that that would be okay.
Who's responsible to sign off on these structures for the district? The new structure we're looking at? Who looks at the structure, makeup of it, and say that they are, is it you?
Yeah, it would be either myself or facilities, or we could hire a neutral third party, which is not a problem, but I would recommend that we do our due diligence, have somebody go in and check the plumbing, check the electrical,
Yeah.
to make sure that we're getting good buildings.
Exactly,
So we're not gonna have surprises once we bring them in.
exactly, that's what I'm talking about, thank you, yeah.
Can you show us where that south side, you said temporary wall for,
Oh, yeah.
would be?
Right along here on this building, this is where the building turns into a 2-story. We've got an elevator, we've got a set of stairs, we've got restrooms. And then right here is a temporary wall so that you can bump this section out for an additional, 2-story area. So we've got water right up in this area. We would have to put in 2 rooftop units to work with the heating system. But everything else is relatively well set up. It would probably bump it out right up against this playground. It's about how far out we would end up going if we did an addition. But,
What were the age on the use modulars again?
The restrooms were 2002, part of the classrooms were 2006, and the other classrooms were 2008.
So they're really still fairly new.
They really are, and it sounds like they were relatively delicately used, so again, if we go in and see them in person, we'll be able to tell.
Well, because my thought was, if we got the modulars, but then eventually had the funds to build that addition, those modulars would still be in good enough condition to help for even other areas. Because we are obviously going to continue to have that same capacity issue everywhere else.
Any other questions?
So are you asking us to move this to an action item?
I believe after speaking with Dustin, yes, we would like to turn this into an action item.
Dustin?
Tammy?
Yep.
When do we have to make the commitment to the owner of the mods right now?
Because these are used and we run the risk every day that we wait.
When?
I mean, the sooner the better, obviously, but the company is willing, if we put money down on them, to hold them as long as we need. So if we didn't want to put them until summer, they would wait for us.
But what she's saying is if somebody else comes in and wants them, then we don't get them.
Got it, but I do think they need to be thoroughly vetted before we spend $500,000.
I agree.
So that's good.
Yeah, that would be part of the, the next step is to
Would be to have a
bring it to you
contingency.
with an inspection report, basically, to say that this is worth voting yes or yes on, or should be voted down.
I just wanted to make sure that you understood why the 10 classroom is really the one that we need. Right now, we have 9 of those rooms, basically. We're using 9 classrooms with kids. 6 of them are full classes of kids, 25 to 30 kids all day. 3 of them are used with small groups of kids. We have ELL, special education. 1 is our book room, which we need also. So only an 8 classroom would really, although it's better than the modulars we have now, it really puts us in a hard place for enough space. Also, the way our enrollment's about 690, which is as high as we've been in a long time. Our K through 3 are all pretty large classes, including our 5th. Our 4th is our smallest. But we are 5-track K through 3, and 5-track at over 25 in all of those classes. So really can't go to 4. So just with those kids rolling up, next year we will effectively have 5 4th grades, which is adding a teacher to the school, which is adding another classroom. The way we are currently today, I couldn't add a classroom if we needed to. So that's why 8, yes, is better than what we have, but really, I hope you consider the 10, because that is really what we need, and we would be able to, where it's going to go, we'd be able to keep a couple other of those modulars for some of the storage we need, because that's the other thing we lack is storage space for book room, science supplies and stuff, which is in the one modular that really isn't. It's a trailer that's not usable for anything other than that. And with where it's going to be located now, those modulars that would have to be moved, those are where our ELL, our special education, 2 classrooms and book room are at. So those would be, although it would be a little bit of a burden, obviously, to have them somewhere else, hallways, library, whatever, for a while, that is certainly a doable thing to do during the school year. That can happen because of the small groups of kids.
Yeah, I've been in your building. I was there when you had the open house, the ice cream social. So I know you're packed to the bones there. I think we as the board just want to make sure that we're getting what we paid for.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a discussion whether you need it. Trust me, I know you need it just to make sure that once you get it, it's there for a long period of time,
No.
for a while, so.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just wanted to make sure you understood the
Oh, yeah.
reason that I really need 10.
I mean, you got a lot of kids.
Yeah.
The ice cream was good too, but you got a lot of kids.
Yeah. Now, if you have a little extra money and want to do the building.
Not gonna happen. No.
We don't have that much money. Come on. So if we were to move this to the November 8th, is that time enough to vet it and make sure that we're getting a really good bang for our buck?
I do believe that we can get some people in to look at the plumbing and electrical within that time period.
Okay. And if it was approved then, it would be put in throughout the year, so it was ready for next year? It would
Yeah,
not?
I mean, if that's the direction we want to go with the 10, I think that after speaking with Dustin, we can make arrangements for the kids that are in those 2 modulars that we would have to move or get rid of. And then it would take a 4-month process to get through it. So from the date we start, we'd have to hit the ground running and hopefully get these kids in before the end of the school year.
Do our facility people take care of those buildings?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, if you're confident that you can get all of that accomplished, I would like, if we can, agree to move that as an action item. That way we can get moving on this for that school. Any objections to putting it on there with the stipulation that they need to get all that done before then? And if not, then it would be pushed back another month?
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to see an outside source evaluate the quality of the buildings.
Okay.
So,
I want another set of eyes on those buildings.
Okay.
so if possible, could you send that to us before the meeting?
Yes.
That way, it's all done before we have it on there. Thank you. Okay. Then, make it so, Lorena.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for doing that. And Dustin, I'm hoping that it works out, that we get it in before the end of the year for your students.
Good evening, Mr. Watson. How are you?
We are talking the 10 classroom
Yes,
one.
it has to
So
be the
make
10.
sure,
Must be the 10.
make sure you're looking at that 10 classroom. Okay. All right.
Mr. Watson looking over at me like I'm making his life pretty miserable.
It's all on you, Henry, always.
Yep.
All right, now we're up to 10.0, our other business, which is an executive session. We could make the motion and then take a 10-15 minute break.
Yeah, let's do that, please,
And
ma'am.
then, when we come back from that, we'll be in executive session.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
just so everybody knows, once we'll read our motion, and then we'll take a 15-minute break, and then when we come back from that break, we'll be in executive session, and that is to get legal advice. So we won't take any vote in there or determine any final action. It's just to get legal advice for us. The only people in that will be our legal counsel and the board. So that's why we're going to take that little bit of break so we can interact, and then we won't be able to have you in the room with us after that.
I move to go into executive session to conference with an attorney for the district for the purpose of receiving legal advice on special legal questions as authorized by Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-4024B, and to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations as authorized by Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-4024E.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, a vote, please.
Mr. Allen.
Aye.
Mrs. Harrell.
Aye.
Mr. Irons.
Aye.
Mrs. LeVere Wright.
Aye.
The board is taking a break at 7:50 p.m.